You think devotion shines until it hides behind cold royal rules. You believe a promise protects you until it hurts more than fear. The moonlight dripped across the ancient black palace, cold and slow like frozen silver rain, painting every tower with a quiet warning. Inside those walls lived Queen Elara, a human married to the most feared ruler in the immortal kingdoms, King Valerius. She had been his wife for 7 years, yet he never touched her, never held her hand, never whispered her name with warmth. She slept on one side of the royal chamber, and he kept his distance like a shadow guarding a flame. To some, it looked like cruelty, yet Alara sensed something buried inside him, something wounded beyond words. Every night she sat near the window, watching the vampire city below, filled with residents who obeyed strict ancient laws. Humans were rare here, treated with uneasy respect and distant fear. She could feel their eyes on her whenever she walked through the court, wondering why a fragile human queen remained untouched by their king. The court believed Valerius despised her, but there were moments, fleeting and intense, when his crimson eyes softened, almost trembling with something heavy. He avoided looking at her for long, as if 1 second more would break something inside him. Alara never asked why, though the question burned like fire in her heart. One night, while she braided her hair with quiet patience, she spoke without turning. The king stood near the balcony, silent like a statue carved from moonlight. Alara said, "My king, I do not expect love, but I deserve to know the truth." The cold night breeze carried her words through the chamber. Valerius flinched, his hands tightening behind him. His voice sounded controlled, sharp, yet cracked with something desperate. Valerius answered, "Your truth would destroy this kingdom, Alara." She turned toward him, her eyes steady, fearless. She had survived fear before marriage, hunger before royalty, loneliness before him. She would survive a truth too. But before she could speak again, a sudden howl echoed across the palace grounds. Heavy guards rushed outside. The king vanished from her sight in a swift blur of motion, leaving only cold wind behind him. Alara stood alone, her heart racing, sensing something terrible awakening in the shadows. She did not know that this night would finally break the vow that kept the king away from her, and that the truth he feared would demand a price. One that only she could pay. Shadows raced beneath the palace towers as guards struggled to contain whatever hunted at the gates. Alara stepped out onto the balcony, gripping the stone railing, cold wind stinging her face as she stared into the dark courtyard below. Torches flared, and armored vampires moved in formation, forming a circle around a beast thrashing in chains. Its eyes blazed blue, not crimson, its veins glowing with violent light, its fangs long yet broken with agony. It was no ordinary creature, and every soldier trembled before it. The monster snapped the chains like thin twigs and lunged toward the palace doors. Before Alara could blink, Valerius appeared from the shadows, a blur of black coat and silver hair. His eyes ignited with crimson fury as he grabbed the beast by the throat, slamming it into the stone with impossible force. The ground cracked, dust rising in sudden silence. The creature howled not with rage but with grief. Its voice sounded broken, almost human. The creature whispered, "Save her 20 breaths and all will burn." Those words echoed through the courtyard, shaking every heart. Valerius tightened his grip, his jaw trembling with something deeper than anger. Without a word, he ripped through the creature's throat cleanly, ending its suffering. The soldiers bowed their heads, not from respect but fear. Alara rushed downstairs, her dress sweeping through cold halls as she hurried to him. When she reached the courtyard, Valerius stood alone, the creature's body gone to mist. He wiped blood from his hand, and Alara noticed it, dark and shimmering like liquid night. One drop landed near her foot, the stone beneath it cracked, sizzling. This time, Valerius did not turn away from her. Valerius said quietly, "You should not have seen this." Alara lifted her chin, her voice remained steady. Alara replied, "Then tell me why a monster warned you to save a queen." His eyes widened, realizing she heard the creature's dying words. Crimson veins surfaced around his temples, his breath sharp, strained like a beast fighting itself. He stepped forward, slower than she had ever seen him move, as if every step hurt. Valerius whispered, "If I ever touch you, elara, this kingdom falls." Her heartbeat echoed inside her chest, louder than the storm building around them. She searched his eyes, not for fear but truth. Elara asked, "And if you never touch me, does the kingdom survive or only you?" For the first time in 7 years, the vampire king could not answer. Thunder cracked across the sky, splitting clouds with icy light, and somewhere deep within the city, another scream rose. And this time it called Elara's name. The scream echoed across the city like broken glass falling from the sky, sharp and trembling. Every guard looked upward, searching for the source. Elara felt the sound pierce her spine, not as terror but as recognition, as if something unseen had been watching her for years. Valerius moved closer, placing himself in front of her, his coat sweeping around them like shadowed armor. Though he did not touch her skin, the air between them tightened, heavy and electric. Valerius growled softly, "No one answers that voice." But Elara stepped forward, refusing to hide behind him like a fragile ornament displayed on a throne. The voice called to her, not the crown, not the palace. It called Elara, the girl who once fought hunger. It called the woman who endured silence from her husband for 7 years. Elara said, "I will not live in fear of something that seeks me." Valerius turned sharply, his eyes burning with crimson fury, but beneath it something desperate trembled. Fear, not of the voice but of the idea of losing her. He clenched his fists, and midnight blue veins pulsed beneath his skin, glowing faintly. Elara noticed it this time, those lines matching the same glow she had seen in the beast. She whispered, "You are changing." His breath stilled, he did not deny it. Moments later, an advisor rushed into the courtyard, bowing deeply. His long cloak dragged through puddles of moonlit rain. Advisor spoke urgently, "My king, the oracle refused to speak until the queen stands before her." Valerius went cold, colder than frost, colder than death itself. Every guard reacted with horror, stepping back as if someone demanded a human sacrifice. Elara, however, straightened her posture and answered before anyone could object. Elara said firmly, "Then take me to the oracle." Valerius blocked her path, his voice shaking, too raw to disguise. Valerius whispered, "If you enter that chamber, fate binds you. You will never escape this life." She met his eyes, her voice quiet yet unshaken. Elara replied, "I never asked to escape you." His breath hitched, barely audible. For a moment he looked like a man, not a king, not a monster, not a legend feared by 1,000 clans. Just a man trying not to break. But duty forced him to step aside, though every movement looked painful, like a wound opening. Guards formed a tight circle around them as the palace doors opened toward the underground sanctum. Torches flickered as they descended deep beneath the palace, into a chamber older than the vampire throne. The air vibrated with chants, though no one spoke. At the center the oracle stood, eyes covered in black silk, hands drenched in ancient runes. The moment Elara entered, the chanting stopped, and the oracle lifted her head like she could see without seeing. Her voice echoed like wind in a tomb. "Oracle foretold, the king has never touched you, queen, not to reject you but to save you." Valerius closed his eyes as if the truth itself burned. The oracle stepped closer, her words piercing the silence. The oracle continued, "And now the price for waiting has come to claim its debt." Elara felt cold breath against her neck, a presence behind her. She did not turn. The oracle whispered a final truth. Oracle said, "If he touches you now, you will die, and if he never touches you, he will." The chamber swallowed the sound, leaving only the weight of fate hanging between them. And Elara finally understood. The silence was never rejection. It was sacrifice. The oracle's words settled like ash in the sanctum, heavy and suffocating, clinging to Elara's chest like a final breath held too long. The guards kept their eyes down, unwilling to witness the pain in their king's silence. Valerius stood motionless, his face pale, jaw locked tight. The grief in his eyes looked older than his crown, older than the walls carved with ancient vows, older than blood itself. He had swallowed 7 years of restraint, not out of hate, but to keep her alive. Every untouched night had been a shield. Elara stepped toward him, her voice soft but steady. Elara asked, "Why did you never tell me?" His gaze lifted slowly, fragile in its honesty. Valerius answered, "Truth binds fate faster than silence." He turned away, shoulders tense as chains of centuries seemed to weigh them down. The oracle moved between them, her presence colder than stone, her voice echoing through the chamber. The oracle warned, "Your bond has reached its breaking. The curse awakens, the king's power shifts, the queen's heartbeat calls." Alara's hand rose instinctively toward her chest. She felt a strange pulse beneath her ribs, faint but burning like a hidden ember. Valerius flinched as though he could sense it too. Valerius whispered, "The bond is growing stronger. It should not be." The oracle lifted her hand, runes shimmering across her skin. Oracle spoke, "The bond has chosen without permission. Fate takes what neither wanted yet both longed for." The room dimmed and torches flickered wildly. A gust of unseen wind surged through the sanctum, swirling dirt across the floor. A chilling whisper rippled through the darkness, the same voice Elara heard earlier. A whisper hissed, "She is mine." Valerius bared his fangs instinctively, his entire body shifting with predatory instinct. His crimson eyes flared bright, not out of bloodlust but rage. The chamber trembled under the force of his fury. Valerius roared, "You will not touch her." Stone cracked under his voice. The whisper faded into the walls, leaving a lingering echo of laughter. The oracle lowered her hand, eyes hidden yet knowing. The oracle declared, "The ancient vow must be forged or broken before the waning moon." Elara stepped closer, refusing to let fear command her. Elara asked, "What vow?" The oracle turned her blind gaze toward the queen. The oracle replied, "The vow of blood choice. Choose him with your life or release him with your death." A gasp swept through the guards. Valerius's breath grew sharp, violent, his fingers trembling at his sides. His voice broke like shattered stone. Valerius pleaded, "No, there will be no vow." The oracle looked toward him with a chilling calm. The oracle answered, "You do not rule fate, king, she does." Elara felt the weight of those words settle into her bones. Fate was not offering love, it was demanding sacrifice. There was no gentle path, no quiet future, no 7-year patience left to protect either of them. Elara spoke softly, "I need to understand the vow." The oracle reached toward her, not touching her skin but letting cold air brush against her hand. The oracle explained, "If you choose the king, your body binds to his power. Pain will forge it. Your life will become his protection, but your death becomes his ruin." Valerius stepped forward, his voice cracking with dread. Valerius said, "Elara, do not do this. You deserve freedom." She held his gaze, her eyes refusing to look away. Elara replied, "I deserve truth too." The oracle continued. Oracle spoke, "If you reject him, the bond shatters. The king survives, but his power dies. The kingdoms will divide, war will follow, thousands will bleed." The silence returned, thick as fog. Choose love and risk death. Choose freedom and cause war. No choice seemed merciful. The king looked at her like a man drowning, not a ruler commanding. His voice was raw, stripped of authority. Valerius whispered, "I would rather die than let you suffer for me." Elara's eyes filled with quiet fire, not tears. Elara responded, "And I would rather suffer than watch you die for me." The room gasped as if the air had lungs. The oracle raised her head slowly, as though witnessing a moment fate itself feared. A tremor shook through Elara's chest. The ember in her heartbeat flared violently, spreading warmth like molten sunlight. Valerius staggered back, clutching his chest, feeling the same surge through his immortal veins. Guards rushed forward, but the oracle lifted her arm, stopping them. Oracle warned, "Do not touch them. The bond awakens." Elara doubled over, her hand gripping the wall, heat tearing through every breath. Valerius knelt, grinding his claws into the stone, trying to control the power rising inside him. Their breath synchronized. Their pain mirrored. Their bond sealed itself without permission. This was not a vow. This was possession by fate. When the agony finally eased, Elara stood, pale and shaking. Valerius rose to his feet slowly, rage and fear mixed in his voice. Valerius whispered to her, "You will die if it continues." As she leaned against the cold stone, breath unsteady. Elara whispered back, "Then teach me to survive it." Valerius looked at her like she was the most impossible thing his immortal life had ever seen. He spoke no words. He only extended his hand toward her, not touching, but close enough for her to feel his warmth. Not a king's command. Not a lover's reach. A plea. She lifted her hand too, stopping 1 inch from his. The oracle whispered the prophecy like a final thread tightening. Oracle said 7 days. At the end, the king will beg, the queen will choose, and one will die. Elara felt no fear anymore, only destiny pressing against her skin. Valerius closed his eyes, breaking at last. He had waited 7 years not to touch her. Now fate demanded it after the oracle's decree. Elara and Valerius were escorted back to the upper palace, surrounded by guards who looked less like protectors and more like witnesses of an inevitable tragedy. The air was thick with fear. Even the torches flickered away from the queen as though the fire itself feared her heartbeat. Valerius walked beside her, never touching, yet every step betrayed his turmoil. He kept his gaze forward, but his voice was barely a whisper. Valerius said, "I never wanted your life tied to mine." Elara looked at him, her expression steady, though her chest still pulsed with pain. Elara replied, "Then stop treating my life as something fragile you must protect." He stopped walking, the guards hesitated behind them. Elara continued forward, forcing him to follow her instead of leading. For the first time, she allowed him no shield, no distance to hide behind. They entered the royal chamber, moonlight spilling across the floor in fractured silver lines. Elara sat on the edge of the bed that had divided them for 7 years. Valerius remained standing, his hands curled into fists. Elara asked, "What happens if the bond completes without a vow?" Valerius turned slowly, eyes dimming like dying embers. Valerius answered, "It becomes a hunger. The bond will consume one of us. Forever." Elara swallowed, not from fear but clarity. Elara whispered, "So either way, someone dies." Valerius closed his eyes, pain twisting through his features. Valerius said, "If I touch you now, it kills you. If I resist, it kills me." The curse was meant to punish any king who tried to love a human. Elara looked at him sharply. Elara asked, "So this kingdom punishes love?" He shook his head slowly. Valerius replied, "No, it punishes desire. A king is forbidden to crave what is fragile." Her breath caught in her throat. She finally understood. He never avoided her because she was weak. He avoided her because she mattered too much. Elara whispered, "You fear wanting me more than losing me." His gaze lifted, naked in its truth. He did not answer because silence already confessed everything. The pain surged again. Elara gasped, hand pressing against her heart. Valerius lunged forward, instinct driving him faster than reason, but he stopped inches from her skin, shaking violently. Valerius pleaded, "Elara, breathe, please breathe." She forced air into her lungs, voice trembling. Elara whispered, "I am breathing. You are the one suffocating." His eyes widened, the truth striking through him. She was right, he was the one breaking. A sudden knock shattered the moment. The doors opened, and a soldier knelt with trembling urgency. Soldier reported, "My king, the beast you killed returns." The mark of the queen revived it. Valerius froze. Elara stood slowly, steadying herself. Elara asked, "It came back because of me." The soldier nodded, fear choking his voice. Soldier continued, "The creature seeks the queen. It hunts for her blood bond." The king's expression turned lethal, fangs pressing against his lip. His voice lowered into a deadly vow. Valerius growled, "No creature touches what fate has chained to me." Elara walked past him, heading toward the door. Valerius snapped, "Elara, stay behind me." She faced him, her voice iron wrapped in silk. Elara said, "I am not a prisoner. I will fight for my life, not hide from it." The bond pulsed between them, fierce and burning. Valerius saw something in her that frightened him more than death. A queen not by title, but by choice. He extended his hand toward her, still not touching, but close enough for her warmth to slide against his shadow. Valerius whispered, "Then we face it together." The bond flared, a violent rush of heat through their veins, as if fate approved their unity. Elara stood beside him, shoulders squared, eyes burning with resolve. Outside the palace walls, the resurrected beast howled, calling her name again. But this time the queen did not flinch. She answered. Elara said, "Let it come." Torches dimmed, the moon reddened like split fruit, the bond throbbed with fire. And the final night of the vow approached, the wind howled through the palace gates as the resurrected beast stalked across the courtyard, its blue veins burning like lightning beneath torn flesh. Its fangs dripped with shimmering poison, each drop hissing against the stone. Soldiers formed a circle, their blades trembling. The creature's eyes locked only on Elara. Valerius stepped forward, his presence dark as thunder. Elara moved beside him, refusing to stand behind. The bond burned fierce between them, pulsing like a second heartbeat. The beast growled, "She must bleed or the king dies." Elara replied, her tone steady. Elara said, "You speak of sacrifice, then speak to both of us." The creature snarled, struggling to stand upright, its voice cracking like shattered ice. Beast answered, "She wears the spark of power. A human was never meant to carry a king's bond. It must end." The bond flared inside Valerius, agony ripping through him. He fell to one knee, clutching his chest as crimson light shot through his veins. Elara knelt beside him, touching nothing but the air near his shoulder. Elara whispered, "Valerius, stay with me." He gasped, his voice breaking. Valerius said, "I cannot hold it much longer. You must choose." The beast's eyes glowed brighter. Beast commanded, "Either she breaks the bond to save him or she completes it to kill him. Choose." Elara rose to her feet. Her voice grew sharper than any blade. Elara declared, "Why must love be punished?" The beast's growl softened, eerily sorrowful. Beast whispered, "Because destiny gave you to a king who was never meant to crave you." Valerius roared with fury, but the pain dragged him back down. Elara looked at him, then at the beast, and stepped forward until she stood inches from the monster. Elara said, "Pain is not the proof of love, choice is." She closed her eyes, feeling the bond pulsing through her heart. She found the ember that had awakened inside her, the light that threatened both their lives. She did not try to break it. She did not try to give it away. Instead, she embraced it. Elara whispered, "I choose him by living, not dying." The bond surged through her body, fierce as wildfire. The pain returned, but she did not fight it. She accepted it, letting the power burn through her veins until it stopped trying to destroy her and began to reshape her. Her breaths grew steady, her eyes glowed with molten gold. Her skin shimmered faintly, not immortal, not vampire, something different. The beast staggered backward, recoiling in shock. Beast cried, "Impossible. A human cannot survive the king's bond." Valerius struggled to his feet, no longer in agony. His crimson eyes softened as he looked at her, witnessing the impossible truth. Valerius whispered, "Elara, what have you become?" She turned toward him, glowing yet still human, her voice calm. Elara replied, "His equal, not his weakness." The creature howled in despair. The bond between Elara and Valerius pulsed again, now stronger than fate, forged not by pain alone but by choice. Valerius stepped beside her, and this time their hands touched. No death, no curse, no permission from destiny. Their bond stabilized instantly. The beast shrieked as its body cracked, turning into ash, erased by the power it could not predict. Guards collapsed in awe, torches blazed bright, the air warmed at last. Valerius looked at their joined hands, trembling with relief, fear, and wonder. Valerius said softly, "I tried to protect you for 7 years." Elara leaned closer, her voice barely a breath. Elara replied, "You protected me by hiding. Now protect me by staying." Slowly, as if afraid she might vanish, he finally touched her cheek, the first touch in 7 years, warm and reverent. Valerius whispered, "Then let the world survive our choice." She closed her eyes, letting the warmth settle against her skin. Elara answered, "Let it learn from it." The curse shattered, the kingdom bowed, the bond remained. Not tragedy, not sacrifice, only love that chose itself. And for the first time, the vampire king held his wife without fear.